I'm just testing sound to see if I am audible.
Yes, you are, Ms. Chetty.
Thank you very much. And I trust that my camera is also visible. I will just introduce myself and put on my camera. I'm presenting, I'll turn my camera off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Recording in progress.
Morning, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning, Honorable Christie, and good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ninjani.
Siyaphila njani nina?
Siyaphila, Nkosi.
Siyabonga.
Good morning, honorable members and colleagues. Mandy, we can proceed.
Good morning,
Mandy.
Chairperson.
Yes, you can move your document. We can't see the agenda. Up. Yes. No, thank you very much, Mandy. Good morning, members in the platform. Let us start with our meeting, and you are all welcome, colleagues, to this meeting that was convened last week, Friday, and then was postponed because of non-availability of some of the honorable members. And it was then scheduled for Tuesday. It was again postponed, and we apologized because we are deployed in different portfolio committees, and at some point they will always clash in terms of the dates. So we were then requested by the House Chair to reconvene this meeting on Friday, which is the actual day of our portfolio committee. So we want to apologize, honorable members, and once more, you are all welcome. We are then moving to the apologies, Mandy. I know that there's only 2 apologies that we have received by our secretary and myself, the apology of Honorable Montana, and also the apology of Deputy Minister, Honorable Masemula. Those are the 2 apologies, honorable members. I will then move to the next item, which is the adoption of this agenda. I will take hands of honorable members who want to move for the adoption of the agenda. Honorable Nkumbanya.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to yourself and all the honorable members and ministers in the platform. I move for the adoption of the agenda, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nkumbanya. The agenda has been adopted. I see the hand of Honorable Apiri, and you are also welcome, Honorable Apiri.
Thanks very much, Chair. I was raising my hand to second the proposal of adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Apiri. Then the agenda has been adopted. Honorable members, today it's about hearing from the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation more about the policy framework on the integrated plan. And honorable members, there's lack of coordinated collaborative efforts by key government stakeholders that have compromised effective provision of services to the citizens. And for so long, fragmented efforts and working in silos by government departments have led to the duplication, waste of resources, and inadequate provision of services. Honorable members, effective provision of services starts with the integrated and coordinated planning by all key stakeholders, and the introduction of the district development model as a form of integrated planning is an important initiative to tackle service delivery challenges at the local government, which is in our municipalities. And honorable that developed to ensure the yield, the intended outcome, which is the delivery of impeccable services. And of course,
your line is not clear, Chair.
Yes, you're breaking up.
I'm saying on a problem outside. I don't know, this grass cutting or whatever. And I'm saying, honorable members, I don't see the minister here, and neither the deputy minister, because I was going to hand over to them. I will then quickly hand over to the Director General, Mr. Robert Nkuna, who is in the meeting. So to do the remarks and then hand over to the presenters.
Good morning, Chairperson.
No, before yourself, Honorable Mr. Nkuna, I see Petule Rampeti, his hand. There's the hand.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. I'm Petule Rampeti. I'm the Parliamentary Liaison Officer in the Office of Minister Maropena Ramokgopa. We have actually sent a letter of apology in respect of Minister Ramokgopa, as she has been booked off sick for the whole week. So I was just I actually wanted to indicate that we have sent an apology, but I'm surprised it's not being recognized in the meeting.
We didn't get that email. Mandy, did you receive the email?
Yes, apologies, Chair. That was my oversight. We did receive the apologies.
Chair.
Honorable members, note the apology of Minister Ramokgopa. She's not well. She has been booked off so she won't be part of this meeting. Lebohang Tikane.
Thank you very much, Chair. My apologies for joining in late. I also wish to indicate that the Deputy Minister is currently traveling to the Free State. He has had to attend to an emergency and had to leave this morning. Otherwise, he was meant to be part of this meeting. Yeah. I did send the apology to Mendy. It will be coming from Lebohang Tikane, Sis Mendy.
Mandy, there's also an apology of the DM. Have you received the email?
Yes, Chair, we posted it also on the WhatsApp group to members that the Deputy Minister is in the Free State.
No, thank you very much, Mandy and Betulo. I see the hand of Honorable Christie.
Chair, seeing as this is quite an important model that we're evaluating, should we go ahead with the meeting without the Minister and Deputy Minister?
Honorable members, there is a question from Christie. Whether we proceed with this meeting outside the minister and the deputy minister, because our expectation was that also the minister of COGTA and also the deputy minister of COGTA will form part of this meeting, and the four of them are not here. I'm not sure. I see the hand of Honorable Telesi.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, Honorable members. Honorable Chair, I just want to ask a question. Don't you have any referral or, precedent when this happens? I don't believe it's the first time. That doesn't, of course, answer what we go for going forward. Because anyway, I was going to say, don't you have a recourse when this happens? Because I don't know whether the question means the meeting might proceed, might not proceed. But anyway, if then the answer is there isn't any. I really find, I don't know, Honorable Chair, because if you look at how much this meeting hinges on those, on either the minister or the deputy minister, but then that would happen in future. As long as I think there has definitely got to be a recourse to say what happens if there's a repeat of such a, but as to continuing, my view is that when I looked at the content, as always it happens in these meetings, it always hinges on what they've tabled. But I think it will be at the discretion of the Honorable Chair and Honorable members really to say now, do we proceed, and how will that impact the meeting positively or negatively? I thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Christie and Honorable Telesi. Yes, honorable members, we can't proceed with meetings without the minister or the deputy minister. But I will then propose that because the team from the PME is here and led by the Dr. Nkuna, the Director General, let's proceed, but we'll write to the ministry and raise our concerns, and make sure that in the next meetings, it's either the minister is here or the deputy minister if the minister is not available. But we won't proceed with our meeting, with our next meetings, if both of them, they are not part of our meetings. And I will propose now to proceed with the minister and give Dr. Nkuna as the Director General and also the leader of the delegation to do his remarks and then the presentation. But we will then write a letter of concern because I think this portfolio committee is important because it also oversees all the other departments and all entities of government. So if one of them is not available, one must be in the meeting. We will proceed for today, but in the next meetings, we won't proceed if they're not here. And I so wish that that message must go to the minister and also the deputy minister through their parliamentary PLOs, Pitolo and Betulo and I think there's another Betulo. Will inform them about we have raised our concerns of not attending these meetings, because my understanding is that if the minister is not here, the deputy minister must form part of our meeting. So we will then, I will request that we proceed, honorable members. Dr. Nkuna?
Okay, now thank you, Chairperson and honorable members once again. I have also taken note of what has been said and will also on my side convey the message to the relevant people. Chair, as I start, let me apologize on behalf of DG Mbulelo Changane, who was supposed to join us, but he is in the budget meeting, the Treasury Technical Committee on the budget. The two of us are members of that committee, so we agreed that I will focus on this, and DG Mbulelo will then go to the other meeting. But Chair, here we do have the DDGs from DPME who are in attendance, DDG Gugu Timane, acting DG Josephilda Tlapo. We also have colleagues from the Department of Cooperative Governance. Just on checking on the screen, I've seen Pomohale, who has been the lead person in the implementation of the DDM. We also have Ms. Stephanie Chetty, who is going to lead the presentation. Now, Chair, as directed by yourselves, the presentation is a joint presentation that will be presented by the two departments. So let me indicate as I wrap up on my side that some strides have been made to implement the district development model, but I will be honest to say that there are still challenges. One of the challenges that we have identified is that there is poor participation by the economic cluster department, both at the national and the provincial level, which is a very big problem for us. We understand that these are usually very small departments based in Pretoria, such that they will not be in a position to be in all 52 areas at any given point. What we are doing to correct this, last Friday, we met with the economic cluster departments and we asked them to come with a proposal on what will work for them, given the fact that they are usually small departments and they don't have provincial and local offices. So that's a matter that we are dealing with, because if the MTDP identifies the economy as a priority, then we'll expect the departments in that cluster to be available and also to lead in the implementation of the MTDP. Having said that, I'll ask Ms. Chetty to start with the presentation, and all of us, including colleagues from COCTA or DCOC, we're going to work together as we respond or as we engage with yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nkuna.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nkuna. Very good morning to the Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members of the committee. Stephanie Chetty, once again, Acting DDG for the National Planning Coordination Branch. And I'll be taking you through the presentation. If the presentation can be on slide mode, thank you. Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. While I wait for the presentation to be put on slide mode, I'll be talking on an integrated approach on the policy framework on integrated planning and the incorporation on the district development model. As mentioned earlier by Dr. Nkuna, that the presentation is then including both representation from the Department of Cooperative Governance as well as the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. On my end, I'm not seeing the presentation on slideshow.
We can see your slide, but it's not moving.
Okay, yeah, I'm
Is-
gonna
is it-
turn.
Is it chair through you? Is it who's doing the present? Is it Vui or is the secretariat of the committee?
It's Vui.
Vui, you are not responding to us. We are waiting for the presentation to be on a slide mode so that we can start with the meeting.
Okay, on my end, I'm still not seeing it, but I'm going to continue, Chair. If we can have the second slide, please. Just to outline the presentation will be outlining then the policy framework on integrated planning, a little bit of focusing on the background and then the overview. It will also speak to the development planning framework bill, as well as the legislation applicable in terms of the district development model. And then it'll also touch base on DPME's role to support the district development model, and then also highlighting the medium-term development plan for the country and the importance of spatializing the national development agenda, and then also bringing in some of the current challenges posing to us, which will also include a little aspect of the disaster management component. If we can then, I'm still not seeing DG, the slideshow presentation on my side. If you can just confirm if it is on slideshow, if it's just me.
Okay, Chair, may I request that we be assisted by the secretariat of the committee? It seems as if we are having a challenge on our side.
Mandy, can you help Mama Kosa?
Yes, Chair, we are flighting the presentation now.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, honorable members. Thank you. If we can then move to thank you. So just in terms of the slide before, on the policy framework for integrated planning, if we can move to the previous slide. Thank you. The policy framework on integrated planning focuses on the integrated aspects in terms of developmental outcomes, and it's aligned to building a capable, ethical, and developmental state in line with the National Development Plan and the Medium-Term Development Plan 2024-2029. The framework seeks to build on existing progress in the planning system to address the gaps in public policy and planning landscape. This includes strengthening coherence and outcomes across the spheres of government with other stakeholders and improving alignment between short, medium, and long-term planning systems and instruments. The purpose of the framework for integrated planning is really to strengthen integrated planning towards achieving the country's developmental goals, providing an overall frame for the planning across the state, and also providing the basis for the revision of the Integrated Development Planning Framework Bill. If we can have the next slide, thank you. In terms of the overall framing for the planning system, the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation oversees components of the national and provincial planning system, while the Department of Cooperative Governance oversees the local government planning system, inclusive of the district development model. This diagram just illustrates the high-level policy perspective encompassing long, medium, and short-term planning in its interrelation down to a local level, including the district development model. If we can move to the next slide, thank you. The policy framework, as mentioned in the purpose and the background, really focuses on the implementation plan being a 5-year implementation plan that encompasses output indicators, responsible departments, and targets by the identified responsible institutions. Currently, the implementation plan consists of 21 outputs, indicators, and targets, which are implemented by DPME, the National Planning Commission Secretariat, the Department of Cooperative Governance, the Presidency, the Department of Public Service Administration, National School of Government, National Treasury, and various offices of the premiers. This is done concurrently in the strategic plans, the annual performance plans of the various sectors. DPME continuously engages with these relevant stakeholders to track progress on implementation. There are also regular progress is reported to Parliament through the Portfolio Committee, and DPME is currently also in the process of updating the implementation plan in Q2 of this financial year. If we can move, thank you. Just in terms of the second component, in terms of its implementation, one of the outputs in the implementation plan of the policy framework for integrated planning is the approved national, provincial, and local government planning frameworks and guidelines. This is implemented as follows. The Department of Cooperative Governance developed the DDM 1 plan, content guidelines, and 1 plan process guidelines in 2021, and they were issued to all provinces and municipalities. The Department of Cooperative Governance for this financial year provided quality assurance to 30 priority districts and Metro 1 plans. By June 2024 of this financial year, 15 priority districts and Metro 1 plans were quality assured. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation continues to collaborate with the Department of Cooperative Governance to ensure the alignment of short and medium-term plans to the district development model through the national and provincial planning forums. In terms of the Development Planning Framework Bill, earlier we alluded to the Integrated Planning Framework Bill. This attempted to codify the policy framework and integrated planning into law, and it provided for the overall framing of the planning system, including a whole suite of short, medium, and long-term development plans and institutional planning instruments for the district development model and the medium-term development plan, and is currently being developed for the 7th administration. The Development Planning Framework Bill was presented to Cabinet in June 2023 and updated in line with inputs received from Cabinet, and was further presented to Cabinet Committee in November 2023. In most recent issuing of a letter from the National Assembly in August 2024, indicated a resolution. Number 1, that indicated the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation should A, ensure full implementation of the policy framework on the integrated planning to improve institutionalization and harmonization in the planning system, aimed towards improving results. Implementation of the policy framework should assist the department to strengthen areas and to be incorporated in the integrated development planning bill, together encompassing and piloting the district development model. Currently, as it stands, the updated bill is en route to Cabinet for the 7th administration's consideration. In terms of the legislative provisions and support to the alignment of the district development model, regulations framing institutionalization of the district development model in terms of Section 47(1)(b) of the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act 2005 was published under General Notice in the Government Gazette of May 2024. Section 6 of the regulation spells out the role of the Department of Cooperative Governance as well as the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, acknowledging that DPME is responsible for coordinating the country's planning system. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation must also provide strategic leadership, technical support to the Department of Cooperative Governance in the localization of the national and sectoral plans within the identified 1 plan. However, to note, the 1 plan may not replace existing national, provincial, or local government plans or sectoral plans in any way prescribed or the strategic plan of a department, and this is inclusive also of the 3 spheres of government. The 1 plan must also align to the national, provincial, and local development plans, the sector plans, and any legally prescribed development or strategic plan of that department or entity in their annual performance plan or operational plan of that sphere. The 1 plans must also be submitted to Cabinet for adoption. Once adopted by Cabinet, the 1 plans must be implemented by all 3 spheres of government in terms of the organ of state. Section 12 then also reiterates the regulations that confirm that a one plan must be implemented through an annual, medium, and short-term strategic planning and budgeting process of government and state-owned entities. This is a diagram that really depicts the overview of the district development model, a practical representation of the intergovernmental relationship within the three spheres of government to work jointly towards its implementation. It articulates the problem statement, the underlying principles, the main objective of the district development model, as well as the implementation steps and the institutional arrangements. If we can move to the next slide, thank you. Honorable Chair and members, this is just encompassing the district development model implementation updates at the 9 provinces as of the 31st of March. As mentioned earlier by the Dr. Nkuna, the Director General in DPME, that there have been many successes in terms of the district development model, but however encompassed with challenges as it states as well. So if you take a look at the very high level of the Eastern Cape province, we'll see that the provinces has submitted all the updated one plans for the 2023-2024 financial year. In terms of the intergovernmental implementation commitments, in terms of the one plans, those are the districts that have contributed. In terms of the IGR structures that we utilize for the DDM, the provincial DDM coordination is done through the DDM Nerve Center. However, challenges supersede then some of the successes in terms of the districts and the metros, which require further engagement with business, civil society, tertiary institutions to co-create the intersectoral DDM work streams. There is, however, a lack of national sector departments and state-owned entities and businesses and NGOs involved in the DDM processes. Similarly, with the Free State Department, we've seen that 5 updated one plans were submitted, and we've seen that the Office of the Premier and the Provincial Cocta working with the University of the Free State. We've also seen the provincial coctas working with the South African Local Government Association in rolling out specifically the District Development Model Training Program for councillors. And we see that the District Development Model IGR structures there are in place in the Free State. There are involvement of private sector to some extent, and the challenges are also similar to the Eastern Cape that specifically speak to the IGR meetings, where they see that there's a lack of national departments attending. We also see then there is also some private sector participation, and state-owned entities have not participated in the process. However, huge concern coming out of the Free State is the issue of underfunded catalytic projects in the one plan, which you, Honorable Chairperson, had alluded to earlier in terms of the effects of service delivery and provision as well. Then considering at the Gauteng level, we have then seen the establishment of the Sedibeng District Development Model Technical Hub establishment, a DDM GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems and Implementation Tool developed for the province, and various DDM partnerships established, inclusive of the CSIR, the Water Research Commission, Mining Qualification Authority, and so forth. In terms of the challenges, they were very minimal in Gauteng province. The province indicated the submission of the updated one plans will be done in the last financial year by the 31st of July. And then the provinces were waiting the census data, hence they had submitted late. If we can move to the next slide. Just in terms of feedback and progress for KwaZulu-Natal, the successes there was that the district development model, technical and political hubs established all the districts and the metros. 11 one plans were submitted, and the DDM implementation dashboard was developed and quarterly monitoring had taken place. However, the major challenge for the KwaZulu-Natal province in terms of the DDM was the involvement of key national sector departments. And also then we had constant involvement from the Department of Cooperative Governance, the Municipal Infrastructure Services Agency, Labor, SASSA, ESCOM, Correctional Service Justice, and the NPA. In terms of the Limpopo province, the final updated one plans were submitted for all districts. The Office of the Premier and the Provincial Cooperative played a critical role in coordinating the development of the one plan across the provincial, apart from the Waterberg district, which was a pilot municipality or pilot district. And it should be noted that the Waterberg one plan strictly followed the one plan context guidelines given the technical capacity provided by the DDM hub. With regards to the challenges of drafting the one plans, the district were mainly tasked with drafting the one plans with the support of the Office of the Premier and the provincial COCSTAs. There was a need to improve the spatial referencing of the project, in particular to establish and enhance the GIS capability or capacity, and in terms of participation of national provincial sector departments in the development of the district development model, one plan was very limited. In Mpumalanga province, we see that the final updated one plans were submitted for all districts. There were 20 catalytic projects identified in the Nkangala district, and the Hertsbanda district one plan had 35 funded catalytic projects, and in Tlanzani, one plan had 13 catalytic projects. In terms of challenges, there were still also challenges of silo, planning, misalignment, and poor integration. And then there was also poor participation of national departments and public entities. There was also then commitments by sector departments that didn't adequately serve the purpose of realizing the objective of the one plan. If we can move to the next one. Just in terms of the Northern Cape, the Northwest and the Western Cape, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, the Northern Cape final updated one plan was submitted for all districts. The one plans were included in the IDPs of all districts and local municipalities. The challenges encountered there was the limited expert capacity for the coordination of the district development model in terms of implementation. There was limited legislated instruments for the facilitation of the one plan and the one budget processes. The district development model structures were indeed established through, but they only convened when the political champions were visiting the district. In terms of the DDM implementation, it is a standing item on the IGR forum. The Northwest province final updated one plans were submitted for all districts. It remained critical as a challenge for the national and provincial sector departments to become participants at a strategic level. There was indeed challenges in terms of the identification of key stakeholders outside of government. And then lastly, coming to the Western Cape. The Western Cape had updated their joint district metro implementation plans, and one plan submitted for the 5 districts. There is no one plan submitted for the city of Cape Town metro space. However, the provincial ministers and the heads of department assigned to the districts to strengthen the interface. Just in terms of the joint district and metro plan, there was interface in terms of the teams consisting of senior officials, district setups as well, and then also in terms of the DLG setup and the DGMA, the Joint District Metro Grant, to provide funding to key service delivery projects identified through the Joint District Metro Plan. The challenges that were identified in terms of the Western Cape was that there was a need to improve commitments and participation by government departments and state-owned entities in all districts. Changes in the municipal council and the effects of coalition governments also impacted the Joint District Metro Plan. So if you can see, Honorable Chairperson and members, even though the DDM is still successful in its implementation on the one plan, we still encountered various aspects of similar issues around challenges. If we can have the next slide, thank you. The next slide, Chair. Thank you. Thank you. Just to encompass then and put back into positioning this discussion this morning with the Honorable Chairperson and members, the role of DPME in supporting the institutionalization of the district development model is really on planning, coordination, and support. This is done through the Department of Cooperative Governance as the lead to ensure that national and provincial plans are aligned to the DDM, whilst we ensure that the DDM is prioritized as a delivery model for government in the medium-term development plan of the country that is currently being developed for the 7th administration. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation also ensures improved coordination through the National Steering Committee on Integrated Planning by ensuring that it is an item that is kept on the agenda to update all center of government departments, the offices of the Premier and the South African Local Government Association. In terms of assessments of draft APPs for compliance with requirements for spatialization through the planning processes, which is inclusive of spatial analysis, drawing from the country's National Spatial Development Framework, the census information, and the district profiles, we as DPME undertake annual assessments of the first draft APPs and strategic plans as well to ensure that the DDM is well articulated and represented. General compliance is also considered in terms of the ongoing initiatives towards strengthening and building capacity around spatialization of planning in the 3 spheres of government. From a monitoring and oversight perspective, although DCOG monitors the implementation of projects and programs in the DDM1 plan, DPME provides oversight over the DDM as a delivery model for development results. Also streamlining reporting through the MTDP monitoring and reporting systems, which is currently under development, and then to look at strengthening accountability through public-facing dashboards on the performance of government. We also then support the evaluations and knowledge management, which is conducting evaluations on the performance of the district development model in support of the development outcomes, assessing delivery performance of local government to identify areas of intervention, and leveraging the medium-term development plan as well as the monitoring systems as a data and knowledge hub to share lessons. If we can have the next slide, thank you. In terms of mentioning the importance of keeping up with the national development agenda and factoring also the district development model as well as the medium-term plan for the country, it is an important component to also embed the spatial development agenda within the planning system. And this is done through the geospatial information management systems and spatial planning support to national and provincial departments that DPME also provides assistance to. This includes, as I've mentioned earlier, the supporting of assessments of spatialization of the annual performance plans and the strategic plans through analyzing the department's APPs and strategic plans by looking at the policy tools such as the IDPs, the spatial development frameworks, and the DDM1 plans. In addition to spatializing the development agenda, we also provide support through the Presidential Steering Committee on the District Development Model, which was introduced in 2019 when the Honorable President, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, had introduced the District Development Model. Providing then support to the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform with work in relation to the development and implementation of the National Spatial Development Framework, which was approved and adopted by Cabinet in 2022. And then we've also then developed guidelines frameworks to inform spatialization of planning. If we can have the next slide, thank you. One of the tools or some of the support tools coming in, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, was the support of tools towards spatializing the country's development agenda. We have, as DPME, developed technical guidelines to support the spatialization of projects and programs, and these then included the geospatial referencing guidelines in 2021, the guidelines for localization of government plans in the context within the DDM, and this was co-produced then by the Department of Cooperative Governance as well as DPME in 2021. In addition to that, guidelines to support coordination across the 3 spheres of government, and it also then clarifies the responsibilities and linkages between planning instruments and the various 3 spheres of government, inclusive of an all-of-society approach with the various sectors. DPME is now working on the draft geospatial information management strategy that we have developed in the 2023-2024 financial year, and this financial year undergoing consultation and approval in terms of the strategy. If we can have the next slide, thank you. This is just a diagram, Honorable Chairperson and members, that really depicts the national development agenda and how we spatialize that, considering the data on the ground where we identify service delivery issues, service delivery challenges, and also then try to map the catalytic projects as seen in the one plans of the various provinces. But most importantly, focusing on this slide is how we take forward the country's 7th administration plan in terms of the medium-term development plan, and how do we then link it to the strategic priorities identified by the GNU, and look at then strategic priority 1, inclusive economic growth and job creation. Strategic priority 2, mainstream optimizing the social wage, and strategic priority 3, which is the capable ethical developmental state, and how this then comes in from a policy perspective, feeding on the country's national development plan and the spatial development framework. If we can have the next slide, thank you. As mentioned earlier, that the country has seen as well the adoption of the National Spatial Development Framework, and DPME also works very closely with the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development to coordinate and support the implementation of the NSDF. The NSDF is supported by theory of change. It is also the ideal spatial framework for the country in terms of its Vision 2050. And it really then articulates your developmental priority areas for the country, focusing on your national spatial action areas and your coordinated action zones in which development can be invested as we look towards the catalytic needs and the priorities coming out of the MTDP. It is also the overall spatial framework to guide these developments for the country and to support then the 7th administration in terms of providing spatial guidelines to development going forward. If we can have the next slide. This is just a high-level presentation or representation of how then that National Spatial Development Framework aligns to the district development model, including then the subframes that I have mentioned in the National Spatial Development Framework. It really cuts across synergy in terms of alignment to ensure that there's alignment to the existing local policies and instruments at a local level through the district development model, one plans, and how then that all feeds into sector departments, strategic plans, and annual performance plans, and filters down from a national, provincial, and local government. If we can then move to the next slide, thank you. And here I'm almost heading for a close. The spatialization of the National Spatial Development Framework in terms of the medium development plan for the country is really pivotal as we look at how it then interlinks to the district development model. Spatialization is a recognition of the expansion and importance of spatial data in enhancing planning and operation efficiency. The district development model increases the demand for spatial data to inform project and program implementation. This is then done through multi-stakeholders, multi-year catalytic projects, and sector commitments. The medium-term development plan really puts forward the overall strategic priorities for the 7th administration. And the National Spatial Development Framework puts forward the spatial priorities for the country. Specific implementation actions towards the MTDP results need to respond to the spatial priorities forwarded by the NSDF. DPME will then collaborate with the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform as the current lead for the NSDF to support the spatialization of the medium-term development plan 2024-2029, which will be going to Cabinet for adoption. If we can have the next slide, thank you. At a high level, encompassing the current challenges affected in the country, as well as we know most of the challenges relate to service delivery. And we just, for the purposes of this presentation, reflecting on the rapid assessment of the flood disasters and the interventions in KwaZulu-Natal, the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape. This is then a report that was done by the National Joint Flood Coordination Committee. And some of the key findings that we find in there and the implications of the flood, even COVID-19 impacts, were the disasters that really affected service delivery, really encompassed a really concern around how do we rebuild, how do we reflect, and how do we get back to meaningful development. But still, in terms of finalizing assessments and the damages and the costs associated to what those disasters actually impeded on the municipalities is a real concern. And those are all being factored into our medium-term development plan as we look to rebuild the country and through the National Spatial Development Program as well, its National Spatial Development Framework. If we can then move to the next slide. Still encompassing and keeping up with the overall flood disaster intervention, some of the key findings was that in year it affected departments. Departments had to reprioritize their activities and budgets in favor of the disaster interventions. More work was required to restore major economic infrastructure and basic services. Some social infrastructure facilities were still dealing with damages of previous disasters, and lessons pointed to the need of reviewing the system as well for disaster management. In terms of the recommendations coming out from the National Joint Coordination Flood Committee, some interventions needed to continue beyond timelines associated. There need to be adjustments in terms of monitoring and oversight processes and capacity building on disaster management and the review of the system of disaster risk management. So DPME is also working quite closely with the Department of Cooperative Governance through the disaster risk unit in the department. If we can have then, I think it's the last slide. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members. I would now be leading on the conclusion slide and then handing back to you, Honorable Chairperson. The policy framework for integrated planning, as we have now presented on behalf of the DG of DPME, which includes the DDM and also the DG of Department of Cooperative Governance. We provide an enabling instrument for improving coordination and integrated planning. However, continued efforts are required to strengthen further collaboration across key sector departments, including DPME, the Department of Cooperative Governance, Land Reform, towards better integration and alignment. DCOG has then published the regulations to support institutionalization of the district development model in terms of Section 47(1)(b) of the IGR Framework Act 2005. The DDM offers opportunities for improved integrated planning and implementation, but the progress has been uneven across the districts and metros, as I have depicted in the provincial perspectives presented. The medium-term development plan for the country 2024-2029 identifies the need to improve the coordination and implementation and stabilization of local governments as a key priority area for the 7th administration. I think that's the last slide for me, Chairperson. Thank you very much. I hand back over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to our presenter. Honorable members, that's the end of the presentation from the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. And I will then take hands, honorable members, from these presentations. If there are issues to be raised or comments or any recommendations to the department as they've presented their integrated planning on DTM. So I'm taking hands. I see there's a hand of Honorable Bergman and Honorable Christie.
Chair, thanks very much. Again, if I can also just register my disappointment in the fact that we don't have any ministers or deputy ministers, nor the director generals. This meeting was not only rescheduled, but it's been scheduled now 3 times in my estimation. And the fact that we're hybrid, well, not even hybrid, the fact that we're online makes it even easier to attend. So notwithstanding the fact that both ministers have very good reason not to be here, and this isn't against those 2 ministers, the minister and deputy minister, there's still other ministers from the office of the presidency that could be presenting the DDM model itself, or at least being in attendance in discussing the DDM model. You know, the problem that I have with this committee is that we're trying to prove that this committee is going to be one of the most important committees going forward, especially for the fact that we're going to hold the National Development Plan in our hands and the implementation of the National Development Plan in our hands. And it's going to be up to us to oversight that. And if we can't oversight even attendance at this committee, or we can't even make that this committee is important or a priority to people, we're going to have a very tough time going through the next few years trying to prove that, you know, this committee would have teeth in terms of its oversight. I'd also like to then also state that the way we ask questions was brought up in our planning session for Parliament, in that we get to ask questions, officials get to answer in a blanket approach, and then we get a second bite of the cherry, and then it's closed. Now, other committees are taking an approach where, and we're hoping that we can also then follow suit, or that will become standardized, that each member would have like 10 minutes assigned to them, or 15 minutes assigned to them, where they can ask a question, get the response, ask a question, get the response. I don't want to say cross-examination, because that sounds a bit aggressive, but I think, you know, it's just a nice way to get an answer, and to get to the answer that you're actually asking the question to, and not an answer that officials want to just give you because they think that that's what you want to hear. And a good example of that, I just want to say, is Stats SA, where we've asked the questions in this committee, and then when asked differently the same question, you get a different answer in another committee, which is, you know, again, led to different answers, which again leads to people taking those answers and creating some form of opinion. Now, for us today in the district development model, we've been told in the past that the 3 pilot projects in the 3 different provinces were a failure, and we're now being told that in the implementation now, the representation, that a lot of the public meetings, the lack of attendance was actually due to departments, the head of departments or the ministries themselves. Now, it's going to be very hard to try and drive a project where you don't have buy-in from the top. And this is, again, it's important that the Minister of COCTA has the authority at this stage, or the mandate at this stage. But as the presenter said, planning, monitoring and evaluation is going to, at some stage, going to be the key portfolio in monitoring how these district development models have actually, you know, how it's been introduced from a national point of view, and how the provinces and how the actual districts themselves, how they've implemented. Because in South Africa, there's a phenomenon of broken telephone between the departments, the different spheres, and what is actually implemented in finality. And we can't have that breakdown. And between COCTA and ourselves, we need to be cohesive in this, and possibly even have joint meetings once every quarter or so, or once a trimester, where we can make sure that we're on the right track, and that all the ministers, all the departments that are involved are giving this their backing. What I need to find out is what have we learned from the 3 pilot projects that we're now going to be doing differently, and what is it that the districts themselves have been asked of us? What is the majority of the plea? What is it that they're calling for? from us in implementing this district development models. And where's, what's the time frames that they're asking from us? I do believe that, unfortunately, on a national perspective, we've got too many projects, and a lot of the projects have got a lot of budgets, but there's a lot of duplication. And what we need to do is, this possibly could alleviate a lot of the duplication if we find out that there's a project that does similar. If we can just get them to, if we can adopt that project into this model, and then maybe even imitate it throughout all the various districts, and find what it is, how many of these projects are in existence, and then when it comes to implementing the district models, is keeping what works and dropping what is not working or what is too expensive, and trying to almost find not a one-size-fits-all, but trying to find a suite of products that the district development model can offer all districts, and say, well, this is what's working down in KZN. This is what we found to be useful now. If we come to Limpopo, you haven't seen this before. We've seen it in KZN. Why don't we try implement it here? And I think that's where the power of the district development models will actually lies, in the sharing of information, the sharing of projects, and also not being scared to admit when a project's too expensive or is not going to, or is duplicated, is streamlining it into one project. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bergman. Honorable Christie, followed by Honorable Kumbanya, and then Honorable Apir.
Thank you so much, Chair. So, leading on from what my colleague Honorable Bergman asked about duplication of processes that already exist. So I'm asking, is this DDM not, is there a need for the DDM, and is it not a wasteful duplication of the IDP, or Integrated Development Plan, legislated for already in local government? And I was very interested to see on page 11, the major challenge was lack of involvement, lack of participation, as you've gone across the country in your pilot projects. I also noted, very interestingly, on page 12, no one plan submitted for the City of Cape Town metro space. So I had to ask why, and I went right to the top. I went to the mayor of the City of Cape Town, who said, we declined to participate in the one plan process because we already have the Integrated Development Plan process. So here's the great big, very well developed 5-year term integrated plan. It's integrated and it's under local government legislation. It's integrated because it is designed to achieve some level of a participation and cohesion with other spheres of government and state-owned entities. So he's saying the DDM is a wasteful duplication of the IDP process. Plus, he is saying, as we know, we have 3 spheres of government: national, provincial, and local. So this one plan process is actually a constitutionally impermissible intrusion on the separation of mandates between national and local government. It's saying, the DDM, that the plans of Cape Town or any other local government has to be approved by provincial and national government, but local government has their own constitutional mandate. So I think what we really need to do is look at this in the context of the fact that our national government is 5.2 trillion rand in debt, and our national debt is 75% of our GDP, which is unsustainable, and we're dangerously close to a fiscal cliff. We don't want to go bankrupt as a nation. So we have to cut wasteful and duplicated expenditure, duplicated projects, and then get back to basics. Go back. Our local municipalities are failing, yes. So that the COGTA and SALGA, here I am. I was a City of Cape Town councillor. Here's my training book from SALGA. If SALGA can go down to the struggling and failing municipalities and help them get back to basics, develop an IDP, an integrated development plan, already legislated under local government legislation. Help them to develop a budget, to do public participation, to consult with provincial and national, but it's decentralized. Whenever you centralize, you know, the Soviet Union collapsed because everything was centralized. What the people on the ground in local government know what's going on, and they already know what their problems are. So we need to go in and empower them. We only 34 local governments got unqualified audits. The city of Cape Town was the only metro in South Africa to get an unqualified audit. And rich and poor people are moving here in droves because businesses can run, businesses can employ people, people can find jobs. There is service delivery. So I'm just thinking, Darren, you just need to mute. I'm just hoping that we cannot wastefully duplicate what already exists under local government legislation, which is the integrated development plan. Can we just get in there as the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation and as COGTA and help local governments develop their own IDP and then budget, spend according to their budgets, get the basics right, keep it simple. I feel that this DDM is very sophisticated, very complicated. Some of it is above my head, and I've got a business science honors degree from UCT. Can we not just get back to basics? My final observation is my children were at school in Grahamstown, now Makanda. I observed that the local municipalities there did not know how to budget. The local governments don't know the basics. So they would take their income and they would spend it, they are spending it all on salaries, employing their cousins, their mothers, their sisters, their brothers, and their children. Nothing of their budget is going to infrastructure maintenance, roads, electricity, water. When you try and cross the road in front of Rhodes University, there used to be a zebra crossing there. It's now just gravel. But people stop because they know that 30 years ago, there was a painted zebra crossing and the Rhodes students cross. That place is crumbling. It's failing. We need to help local governments get back to basics, implement their IDP, and budget for infrastructure maintenance, not just employ their family members and spend everything on salaries. It's a disaster and it breaks my heart. I'm here for the poor and the unemployed, the poor people in the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape. We've got to get service delivery right by keeping it simple and not wastefully duplicating systems that already can work. Look at the city of Cape Town as an example. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Honorable Nkumbana.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning once again to yourself and all the honourable members in the department. Mine is firstly to welcome and note the report which was presented by the DPME, and also commend the submission of the one plans as per the provincial implementation of the DDM. But mine was just to echo and emphasize that the challenges which were cited in the report must be attended to with clear time frames to ensure that ensure the smooth implementation of the DDM. So I was going to encourage the department to ensure that they address these challenges and also attach clear time frames and realistic ones to ensure that those challenges are attended to. And I also just wanted to check to what extent do they ensure accountability of the DDM champions? What is the accountability framework attached to their work to ensure that the implementation to ensure proper implementation, effective implementation rather, of the DDM? Is there any accountability tools in place for the DDM champions? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Apiri.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chair, and greetings to the honorable members on the platform. Let me start, Chair, by joining members to acknowledge and accept the report. Just two questions, Chair. One would like to know what value can the long-term planning have for the different districts, and how will the DPME and the National Planning Commission start a process of assisting local government and provinces with the long-term planning, recognizing that we are in the 5th year cycle of the NDP plan of 2030. The other question, Chair, is how do the guidelines of the DDM ensure that integrated planning at the district level begin at a conceptual stage rather than an amalgamation of plans which undermines the one district, one plan, and one budget objective? Thank you very much, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Apiri. And there's a hand of Honorable Tillis.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and good morning again to honorable members. Maybe just to touch without belaboring the point, Honorable Chair, is that we have raised our disquiet about the thing of the minister, but we understand the reasons. But I think maybe there must just be the line that is drawn that maybe this committee shall not take third best in terms of representation, because if you look at over 30 diaries here, I mean, it really does fly in the face of what we're trying to do, especially because the minister have got questions personally, I'm sure other people as well, where you want the minister to answer. And this is really where, at the level at which, as an oversight committee, I mean, playing our role of oversight, we need to target our questions, and we want to avoid the broken telephone syndrome, where now he hears from the DG who was sitting here and stuff. So maybe that's to emphasize the point. You have already said that there's an action decided that a letter shall be written indicating this. If I may just move on then on one or two things, Madam Honorable Chair. Also, I've had disquiet with this thing of that we're not quite clear what was the outcome of the 3 pilot projects, because you know when you're engaging on such things, you learn from them and see where you need to strengthen, as they say that what you need to stop doing, to start doing, and continue doing. So I think that excuse me, I apologize. That's my phone. Yeah, sorry about that. So that's really the one thing, that those pilot projects, at least before you move on, because I really also, I'm quite sympathetic. I also align with the feeling that there is just too many things that are being done here. And as Honorable Christie pointed out, at our level here, I mean, none of us here is stupid. You find that some of these things fly far above your head. And then you ask yourself, I mean, okay, is there a level at which this is simplified? Although you don't have to bombard municipalities with so much detail, but some of the things, I've pointed out this before and other people have. In South Africa, we're really policy rich, but implementation poor. So really, that is the thing that, and that links to my question of saying, Honorable Chair, in terms of success stories, if there are any, I'm sure there's got to be one or two there. I mean, to what extent are these success stories in terms of across the provinces? To what extent are they shared? Because then it really would be, they should not operate in silos. I think that is very important. And then also, I mean, if you look at the other thing I've always questioned is, to what extent, how the dipstick in terms of the capability, all businesses within business, some of us and a lot of us, that from time to time, you have a very deep dive assessment of the capability of the board. And then so these excos of municipalities, I do not know to what extent there's a deep dive in terms of weeding out passengers, because you will find that there are a lot of passengers and as they call it, oxygen thieves who are sitting there in terms of cadre deployment. So really, those are the couple of points I felt I needed to raise, Madam Chair, in terms of especially the simplification of this, because if you look at this document, I think at times you feel like you need a doctorate to grasp it. Of course, then you can never understand it to the same people who live with it every day, who present it to us. But there must be a level at which it's simplified for understanding, not necessarily for us. I think at this level, we must just try and grapple around it. But then if you go a bit down, I think that at times that's a challenge we have, that you'll find these highfalutin and people are bamboozled, by these policies. But if you cut through them in terms of what really has been achieved. I mean, for instance, I was looking now at the conclusion where it's pointed out, for instance, that their efforts are required to strengthen collaboration across the departments. I think before you look at the efforts, you must know where you are sitting now. Where are we? Where at what level now? Whether you say 1 to 10 or whatever, where is this collaboration sitting now, so that you can address the gap, and how big or how deep is the gap. At this point, Honorable Chair, I will pause. But I do have questions. Maybe there's an opportunity as well to send written questions. I don't know, in terms of where you want an answer directly from ministers. Maybe I could be guided there. What do you do? I'm not saying that I'm just going to keep it away from this capable committee and colleagues who are on this platform. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Tillis. You can send questions to Mandy, and she will then submit to the department. And thank you very much, honorable members, with your questions. I think I've got only 3 questions to the department. And obvious, the PME, and also I've been told that also COCTA it's here. In fact, my question is based on the presentation on the provincial, in terms of provinces. And I want to check, because there are challenges that have been raised and by the presentation. And my question is to the department is that what mechanism is required to enable strategic SOEs to participate in the DTM process, particularly with economic planning to ensure public and private investments, usually reinforcing now that you have highlighted in your presentation in provinces, and also the challenges of SOEs not participating in some of the departments, national government departments. And also, I want to also check, how will the medium-term development plan be translated into the DTM planning process? And also, if this current process of updating the implementation plan of the DTM review the output indicators to also include the outcome indicators of all departments and also all SOEs. I will then give yourself, DG, so that you also point who will respond to all the questions that have been raised by honorable members. I'm handing over to yourself.
Thank you, Chairperson. And honorable members, we really take note of all the questions that have been raised. And without much ado, I will ask Mr. Mpho Mohale from DCOG to respond first, and then DPME will then follow. Over to you, Ntate Mohale.
No, good morning, and thank you very much, DG. And let me also greet the honorable members led by the chairperson in the meeting, and let me also greet my colleagues in DPME as well as our department and all in attendance. As indicated, my name is Mpho Mohale. I'm the Chief Director in the Department of Local of DCOG, and I will do my best to to give comfort to the members on the questions, many of the questions, especially in regard to the district development model, just to give them that comfort. The first one is linked to of Member Bergman as well as Member Buthelezi. They talked about the lessons learned from the pilots. I wanted to quickly indicate that we did do a study of these pilots. Maybe even before I go there, let me just share with members, maybe some of the members are new in the 7th administration, just to indicate that when it was launched, the district development model in 2019 by the president, the initial plan was to do the 3 pilots, and those were all launched by the president himself. And the intention was to run these pilots for a minimum of 2 years or so, and then thereafter, then take lessons learned and then roll it out to the rest of the districts and the metros. But halfway, somewhere towards the end of 2020, early 2021, a decision was taken by our leadership to roll it out simultaneously with the pilots. And that's why all the district spaces and metro spaces were then assigned to also do the profiles and also do the one plans, which was quite a tall order in terms of capacity. But we responded as officials, as directed by our political leadership to do so. So I will definitely share with members in terms of where we are pertaining to the implementation of this approach of this operating system that we want to get embedded in our government systems or throughout all these spheres. So in terms of the pilots, I can simply quickly indicate that in the Waterberg district space, they had the privilege, or we were able to really rally all the stakeholders in that particular space, and both the government as well as and the DDM was led by the Director General in the province himself, which was quite encouraging and some of us just inspiring. The private sector was mobilized. We as a department have a service level agreement with a company called, or it's a non-governmental institution called the Public-Private Growth Initiative, led by the former Minister and MEC Baba, to help us as a department to mobilize. So they are now operating in Limpopo and also in Mpumalanga, as well as the Eastern Cape, to assist us to mobilize the private sector, to be able to mainstream all these initiatives in a coherent way. So the civil society was also mobilized. So in short, in Waterberg, all the private and the civil society mobilization was quite good, and a lot of traction was gained in terms of ensuring that the objectives of this approach is gaining momentum. So they were also able to develop the one plan. So the 3 pilots, all their one plans are the best one plans that we have. It's simply because there was resources that were used to pilot these initiatives in these 3 pilots. So all I'm saying is in Waterberg, the mobilization and the traction, we were able to see it. There were a lot of partnerships that were established between the private sector as well as the local municipalities, facilitated and supported by ourselves and the provincial government of Limpopo. And then in our Tambo, that initiative also of mobilization and coherency was achieved with the local kingdoms coming to join and also support this initiative and actually leading, in terms of ensuring that the objectives of the district development model are finding expression in those spaces. And then the metro, the leadership of the province in the KZN, in the Tikwini, also was quite inspiring to the extent that it was standing items, and the hub that were established in these 3 pilots were capacitated, and they were able to support these municipalities to ensure that they are able to package their plans and their programs in a very, very coherent way. So obviously, there will have been other challenges that have already been expressed by Ms. Chetty in the presentation. I will not dwell a lot on them, save just to indicate that, we need to just up our game, all of us, both in government, as well as also assisting the private sector and the civil society to operate coherently, because in the private sector, you don't have a one institution. When you say you're engaging with the private sector, you find that it's a lot of the chambers and etc. The same applies to the civil society. It's also organized in a multifaceted ways. So those are the areas that we need to really improve and ensure that there's coherency, so that you don't want to see that when you engage with these stakeholders down the line, when you're making decisions, fundamental decisions, and then you find that another stakeholder in that particular sector start to say, no, that we are not. So the philosophy of this model is we are talking about one plan, one district, and one budget, and it also one community in that particular space. You can escalate it up to the national level. I'll just pause here in terms of that one, but let me go to the other question raised by Member Christie pertaining to, articulating the meeting she had with the Cape Town mayor. Let me also confirm that the city of Cape Town did put it in writing that they are not going to implement this one plan or this DDM in their space. And we have also received similar sentiments from the provincial government of the Western Cape. As cited by Member Christie about the reasons, citing that the IDP is there and it is functional, it is effective. We had a meeting, members and DG, led by the minister, Clarissa, with the mayor of Cape Town and this management team about 2 weeks ago to engage on these matters. And we simply reminded them, because when we were running with this program, the former minister, Nkosana Dlamini Zuma, reminded all of us that, yes, when we categorize our municipalities as functional, dysfunctional, etc., we must always know that even if we say the Metro of Cape Town, the Metro of Ekurhuleni, they got a clean audit. But we must always remember that clean audit is simply on the paper, and then yes, their operations are satisfying all the ticking boxes. But we also know that in those spaces, there are backlogs of service delivery in Cape Town. And then we simply, the minister posed them questions to say, are the people of the Cape Town city, of the city of Cape Town, are they operating as a coherent body, as a body politic, etc. So what we are trying to indicate is that the IDP is there. It is an instrument used to make sure that it guides planning and budgeting in these municipal spaces. But the IDP, it is not able to deal with these other matters of coherency, of integration. The silos are continuing. The fragmentation is continuing across the spaces. And then the district development model is now enabling those spaces to begin to really release those boundaries and really break them. And then we're able to create a new community. It's a real big mindset in terms of wiring, how we are approaching. The same applies to our own departments. This DDM approach is exposing all these manifestations amongst all of us in the different spheres. You know, the fragmentation out there and also at national. So we already know that the national departments, they have also been the culprits in not going to the IDPs in the local spaces. They will cite the issue of manpower, etc. But some of them, and many of them, have got representation in the provinces, and in some cases in the district spaces. So the district development model is simply upping the game of integration to say, yes, you are planning, yes, you are budgeting, yes, you got your independent authority as a sphere, but the central government is saying we must now integrate our operations. That's what it is, what the district development model is all about. And there is no duplication because the IDP, people are going to continue to do the IDPs, but we are saying in that space, the community of that space, of that district, of that metro, must agree on the priority programs as to what is required to tilt the balance so that the economy can improve in that particular space. And they co-own. It helps, it lifts the bar of ownership of the space by the government of that space and its people collectively in a collaborative way. So it's a major mindset shift that has to be embraced. And we are very encouraged that many of these district spaces and metro spaces are going into that direction to implement this district development approach. So in short, I'm just saying, Member Christie, this is an approach, it's an operating system, and the government of this country have got the responsibility to create a cohesive society. And then that cohesion can only manifest when we start to really integrate our operations, all of us across the spheres, and also horizontal and vertical integration. So let me go to the matter of the question raised by Member Kumbaka around the issue of the timelines, you know, and the issue of the champions. The champions has been, let me start with the one of the champions. The president appointed the champions, and obviously this is the 7th administration. We are still waiting for the president to give us to assign these the ministers and the deputy ministers to all these district spaces and metro spaces. And our late minister, Pravin, may his soul rest in peace, was also assigned to the city of Tshwane, and he was able to prevail. So we are currently having, they have been given, all these champions, duties that they must perform, and also to report and also to account. And all of these champions, upon them being appointed a member, they are going to then be already the whole machinery of their operations is now being sharpened now. In the past, it was a bit problematic, simply because many of these ministers and deputy ministers, when they went into these spaces, when a minister of any department or human settlement, then they will do that project and then do a bit of integration. So in this case, there are DDM structures in the district and the metros. They're going to share with the metro mayors and district mayors these structures. They're going to receive a consolidated report that is going to give the temperature of that district at that particular time. So for instance, when they go into a particular, for instance, now we have challenges in eThekwini. The presidency is in that space now.
Recording stopped.
The presidency is in that space now, and also supported also by our minister as well as our DG to get eThekwini functionality restored to it where it used to be. So all I'm trying to indicate is that Chairperson, the duties of the champions have been cleared out, and then their responsibility is to support the local spaces and to be a short circuit. In other words, to reduce bureaucracy and red tape. If there is a matter which is linked to a Department of Health in a particular space, that champion is going to help the district or the metro to make sure that it's a straight line to the particular minister, and then that matter is responded to much more effectively to benefit to the people of that. So the champions' duty, I'm just saying, member, but they are going to account. Every quarter, they have to report to the president. And then we as officials are supporting them to put those reports. We support them to do whatever they want to be done in those particular spaces. We have seen good initiatives by the former minister Kivit when he was in Soplaki. Many of the things, the blockages that were there in that space, she was able to use her influence as a minister to import some of these solutions and ensure that there is traction pertaining to those type of challenges. And then Member Apiri talked about the issue of whether we can have this model, DDM conceptualization, from conceptualization up to now, as with the IDP. I think my colleagues will respond to it from DPME. But as Mr. Chetty has alluded in her presentation, there's a slide that we always say it up front. The DDM does not replace any legislation. They remain. But the bottom line is we have to check, as you perform better in your space, are you achieving the cohesive and coherency of ourselves as a community, as a space in that particular case. So the DDM is simply lifting the priority programs to make sure that everybody, it promotes co-ownership, it promotes co-creation, and it promotes co-accountability. In other ways, down the line, the best district, when we have to do the performance of and comparing them in terms of their performances, will be those that will be able to can say, when they report to the president about their performance, you will find that the civil society corroborate that report. The private sector corroborate that report. That's where we are going. So in short, it just means that we have to really up our game and wire ourselves differently as a community of this country. So those who do not want to implement this DDM, it is very clear. We are very clear as COCTA, and we are appointed by the president to lead in this particular instance. In conclusion, I've just indicated that the AG is now the fact that there was a meeting by the City of Cape Town calling our minister. It is simply not because of anything else, members. The AG is now asking questions to say, are you participating in the DDM? So those who have not participated and due to political issues, which is something that I normally don't want to get involved. The AG wants a response. If they are not participating, it's a non-compliance, and then therefore they're going to be found wanting in terms of that particular responsibility. So that's where we are. And then we are resolute about implementing this approach throughout the country. And then we really want to urge that members must assist us to encourage all these municipalities and also to help some of these spaces when they are manifesting, and also to ask the pertinent questions to all those incumbencies in those spaces on some of these. Where you see fragmentation still manifesting, raise it. By doing so, you will be helping us to make sure that we really achieve the coherency of our country as well. Thank you very much, Chairperson. My colleagues will then respond to other questions that have been raised.
Okay, no, thank you, Mr. Mohale. Chair, with your permission, let me round up a number of issues, and then we can then check if there are outstanding answers. Just quickly on my side, on the issues that the districts are raising with us in terms of their needs, broadly, they will vary from one district to another, but they are always common issues, and those will include issues related to security, local economic development, and the provision of basic services. So those will be common issues. But then some of the issues, as I've indicated, will differ from one place to another. And we always document those specific issues that are peculiar to certain spaces. Then in terms of the Western Cape, I think even when the Western Cape has started its own way of coordination between the municipalities and the province, what we understand is that the Western Cape cannot work alone without national government. To the best of our knowledge, from time to time, the Western Cape also needs the national government. So even in whatever they are doing there, we still try to assist to find a better way of the national government being involved in that province. So our understanding is that the fact that they had started with their own coordination model is not to say that we don't need national government. So we're trying to find the best way to support that province even within the prevailing situation. The Makanda municipality is obviously one of the municipalities that we are looking at. And there is a plan that was presented to Cabinet last week on how to deal with the municipalities that are facing severe service delivery challenges. And on the right day, we can ask the DG of Cooperative Governance to come back to this committee and share with the committee some details on what is happening. Still, we believe that there is a need to coordinate at the district level. As I've indicated at the start, that some of the departments at the national level are very small and they are only concentrated at the national level. Now, when you move from IDPs and you introduce a DDM, you are effectively saying that we are creating 52 spaces for coordination purposes. Now, that makes coordination and participation of various departments even more easier, as opposed to having to be involved in over 250 spaces. But at the same time, let me also indicate that in a district, you will usually have an average of, say, 4 municipalities. You also need to ensure that those municipalities are coordinated. So the district development model also assists in ensuring that there is coordination even at the district level, insofar as the districts have to work with municipalities, local municipalities, and local municipalities with each other. Just lastly, on my side, 2 issues, Chair, that you raised. The one issue is on state-owned companies. What we have said to the Department of Corporate Governance is that we don't want people to spend time in many meetings. So when it comes to SOEs, in each and every one plan, we need to identify the SOEs that are affected so that we invite SOCs to participate based on the need of a particular area, as opposed to saying that the SOCs should sit in many meetings. So that is what we are doing in terms of the SOCs. And as I also indicated at the start, we are doing the same with the economic cluster departments, that they will not be in a position to physically sit in all meetings in the 52 spaces. But what we are doing, we look at each and every plan and say, this plan, by its very nature, needs the Department of Energy or Department of Mineral Resources, and then identify that department to just participate on a very specific project. And that way we'll be able to get as many departments as possible to participate without having to bog them down into many meetings. Lastly, on the MTDP versus the DDM, There are two issues that we're doing. One, all the issues that Mukhale has referred to must be in the plan, must be in the MTDP implementation plan, so that we don't have things that work outside the main plan of government. So the starting point is to ensure that everything to do with DDM is in the plan, so that the Department of Cooperative Governance in particular can be held responsible for implementation. So we are doing that. The other part is the specialization of the work that we are doing as government. So we are going to say that for each and every program or project, there should be a geo-referencing, so that we can know that if something is being done in Ulundi, that must be referenced from the beginning, and that will make it easier for us to follow up on the work that is being done. Chair, lastly, I've heard that we're being asked to come or to submit a detailed plan that shows the timeframes of all the issues that we have referred to, and we will do so through our minister after engaging with the Department of Cooperative Governance, so that the committee can have a clear plan of what it is that we're going to be doing going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG. Honorable Tellers, I see your hand, or is the Liquor's hand?
Apologies, it's a legacy hand, Honorable Chair. I'll bring it down.
Okay. Honorable Christie.
Thank you, Chair. A very useful input from Mpose. I didn't get your surname on the thing, and Mr. Nkuna. So I absolutely agree that the city of Cape Town has got challenges, rapidly growing population, trying to counteract apartheid spatial planning and develop social housing as fast as possible in an integrated way. We've got massive challenges. However, the city of Cape Town does already have an integrated development plan. And the DDM is not, I agree, it's not replacing the IDP, but it's definitely duplicating it. This again is in the context of the fact that our national government is in serious serious debt, 5.2 trillion rand, 75% of our GDP. And I know that when I'm in debt as a person, I start cutting wasteful expenditure. If I've got 2 cars, I sell one and I have only one. And I certainly don't buy another car. So we've already got a system under local government legislation, the IDP, that works. Why are we replacing it? Or not replacing it, duplicating it. And that's where my question comes in. How much is the DDM costing? What was the cost of the pilot projects? And how much is it going to cost? Because we can't afford a duplicate system. Is it worth it? Is it successful? Did you see significant participation and collaboration down to businesses in the private sector? I'm reading that you didn't. So why don't we just, again, get down to basics and make sure that local municipalities are doing what is already mandated and legislated for? Yeah, we don't need to replicate it. And what is clear is that the DDM is 6th administration policy. It's outdated policy that the Government of National Unity needs to look at and update. Let's get back to basics. Let's keep it simple. Let's get out of debt, because every week our national government is borrowing 14 billion rand to fund their budgets. It's unsustainable. We're 5 years away from a fiscal cliff. Let's cut our costs and not duplicate. We can't afford to. So please tell us, how much is the DDM costing? What was the cost of the pilot project? Is it successful? Is it worth it? And I really ask that we have this meeting again with our ministers and deputy ministers of COCTA and Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation present and in person, not online. I'm asking for that, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Christie. DG, do you want to respond to the questions so that we then move to the next item?
Sorry, Chair, before you move, I am battling, I don't know if you can hear me, I'm battling to raise my hand, but I've sent something in the chat group. If you can allow me, please.
There's nothing in our chat group, Honorable Gama, but you can proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think that the whole notion of the TDM is a fantastic idea if it can be put to work. And the main thing seems to me that when we talk integration, we need an amalgamation of spirits. When I say spirits, I don't say that lightly, because you need different departments. You need cooperative governance, environmental department, rural development, all of these departments, and others, in order for it to work. And it is that cohesion that seems to me to be missing. And I think some of it is more of a political question rather than to ask the officials in terms of how does the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation hope to bring together all of these different departments who seem to have disparate objectives in order for us to have one patriotic, one South Africa planning and development philosophy and framework, which assists us to actually work and to make sure that projects, especially the rural development areas, can be brought to bear so that the masses of our people can feel an impact of all of these projects that are being planned. Make sure that the districts and the municipalities actually work, because that is where service delivery is at. We will spend a lot of time politicking and getting different people to say, no, we want to do things differently. But we need this cohesive spirit, this patriotic spirit, this South African spirit, which says we want to have an impact on the people, especially the poorest of the poor. They do not eat the arguments that a city or a district may have with someone else. For instance, we have issues with environmental impact assessments which take a long time. What can the district development model, for instance, assist us to have strategic environmental assessments that come packaged to make sure that when projects are approved, then things can start going into implementation stage as rapidly as possible. So these are the kinds of outcomes that our people are looking at. People are not saying they are going to eat the arguments that different government departments are having, that because we lack cohesion, because we do not want to cooperate with one another, then therefore they are going to wait until that argument is out. The people of South Africa, where they are looking at government delivering. They are looking at making sure that they are impacted at the local level where they are, in terms of making sure that basic public goods and services are delivered. And that is what we need. And that's why it's important for the ministers to be present at this meeting so that we can have these discussions in terms of how do they foresee how best will they deal with these issues? Because some of these things also means that we need to enforce them. We have one South Africa. And if we have one South Africa, how are we going to enforce plans and make sure that the stakeholder management and the stakeholder constellations and interventions and discussions and consultations take place upfront, so that once that has been cleared, we are able to actually get into implementation stage. We cannot be on a planning framework and in a planning mindset forever. Our people want implementation. Our people want development. And this district development model seems to me to be something that has been put together in a coherent way. I think the failings of it are not about the district development model, they're about people. They're about people needing to have a cohesive plan, people wanting to cooperate with one another and moving forward, and the absence and the removal of egos becomes a critical and important aspect. So the minister and the president, they need to lead in terms of making sure that these things happen. Otherwise, we all go back into our different silos, and then nothing is going to happen. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'm handing over to you, DG.
Yes, Chair, just to wrap up on one or two issues. Yes, it is true that in the metros, the metro acts as a DDM area. So the DDM, when it comes to metros, the metros then become so the 8 metros are treated as districts, meaning that the programs that are developed at that level then constitute district programs. So we can debate whether that is then called IDP or DDM or both. But I think that both serve the same purpose. And that explains why a decision was taken that every metro should be treated as a district. Lastly, Chair, we would agree with the Honorable Gama in that here we have an opportunity to create a platform that allows us to unlock gridlocks that arise from time to time. We can share quite a number of experiences wherein the DDM help us to solve intersphere problems. These intersphere issues, in the way South Africa is organized, are very serious, are very important in a number of areas. You talk about title deeds. One of the challenges that we have experienced in the implementation of this program around title deeds has always been about the roles of the different spheres. And through the DDM, we are increasingly able to deal with the emerging issues in that space. So, Chair, we will inform our ministers on both sides. We'll write a report to the 2 ministers, inform them of this engagement on our own, and also advise them on the issues that they may need to take forward based on the questions that have been raised by honorable members. So on behalf of the 2 departments, I wish to thank you for allowing us to proceed even in the absence of our principals. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, DG. I think we all agree that the department must ensure that there's accountability of the DDM champions, and COGTA and DPME and the National Planning Commission to develop a roadmap to support districts with long-term planning so that we enforce the joint planning. But also, importantly, is the work done by States SA, which has developed a DDM-focused indicators. And therefore, it means the department must also include the outcome indicators of the DDM leverages and obvious to the augment from the work of the States SA. And with those last issues, And obvious, I think now there's no hands, and I think all honorable members are comfortable with your responses. We will then also allow the department to leave the meeting, but thank you very much, DJ. I understand that you will also communicate the discomfort and obvious the dissatisfaction that have been raised by honorable members of not having the minister or the deputy minister. But I will also write a letter on behalf of the portfolio committee to the ministry. And now, thank you very much to all of you. We'll remain as honorable members to just finish the third item on the draft third term committee program, and obviously the last the consideration of the minutes of the 6th of September. Nina, you are released now. Mandy, the draft third committee report, and thank you very much, DG and your team.
Thank you, Chairperson. The program is highlighted.
Yes, thank you very much, Mandy. Honorable members, this is the draft third term program of the 8th of October to the 6th of December, which is 9 weeks. That starts on the week immediately after the recess on Tuesday, the 8th of October 2024. That's the program, honorable members. I think the briefing on the bill, which is the bill of the National State Enterprise. Or is there anyone meant to help us? Where is Tembakas or Miss? And I've saw also Mwepe here. Miss.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members, colleagues, and everyone on the platform. On Tuesday, 8, 2024, we are going to take the National State Enterprise Bill. The department will introduce the bill. And on the 9th, Auditor General of South Africa on the audit outcomes for 2023-24 financial year in relation to DPME, Brand SA, and States SA, and consideration and adoption of minutes of the previous meeting. And Friday, 11, 2024, it will be 2023-24 annual report and audited financial statement briefings. So we'll take progress report on the recommendations contained in budget reports, briefing by the DPME as Brand SA on annual report 2023-24, briefing by States SA on the annual report 2023-24 financial year, and consideration and adoption of minutes of the previous meeting. On the 18th, deliberations and adoption of the budgetary review recommendation reports for the budget votes, DPME, Brand SA, and States SA. If you can go down, Mandy. Friday, yes, 1 November, briefing by the Department of Planning, Monitoring, Evaluation, and completed evaluation studies in the 6th administration impacting on government, national planning and budget allocations for the development agenda, and consideration of minutes. Friday, 8 November 2024, it will be submissions and preparation of public hearings, summary of public comments, analysis of public comments, and proposed public hearing program together with copies of all written public comments on the National States Enterprise Bill. And then 12, 13, 15 November 2024, it will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Public hearings on the National States Enterprise Bill. And Tuesday, 19, 2024, it will be National States Enterprise Bill Department response to public comment, further input by Parliamentary Legal Advisor, Research and Content Support Team. Mandy?
Yes, Mandy, can you
2022, 26, 27 November 2024, the National State Enterprise Bill formal committee deliberations, and Friday 29 November 2024, it will be the National Enterprises Bill formal clause by clause adoption of the committee report on the draft legislation. Briefing by States SA on income and expenditure survey aimed at measuring and profiling poverty and inequality in the country. And then Tuesday, the 3rd to Friday, 6 December, oversight visit to Gauteng province on planning, monitoring, evaluation of provincial government on numerous areas. So this will be a committee program will be tabled on oversight before the oversight is undertaken. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Missy. Honorable members, that's the draft third term program of the portfolio committee. Any takers, honorable members, to the draft? Honorable Kumbana.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I'm fine with the draft third term program. However, I'm just concerned on the first week there is a session on the Wednesday, and I'm just worried about the issue of clashes or how we can go about that. But I'm fine with all the Tuesday and Friday sessions on my side, and also the draft third term program. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kumbanya. We will look at that date of the 9th of October with the team and see if we can't change to another date where honorable members are not busy. I think we'll do that, Ms. and Menti and all the team, and come back, honorable members. I think also you were then adopting this program for the third term, Honorable Kumbanya.
Yes, Chair, I move for the adoption. Yes, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Because I don't see further hands, I think all honorable members are comfortable with the program. We are moving now to the minutes. Mandy, and thank you very much, Missy. Honorable members, these are the minutes of the 6th of September, 2024. The State SA briefed this committee in terms of the census 2024. project and impact of the 7th administration planning. You can move, Mandy.
Chair.
Yes, Honorable Bergman and Christie.
Chair, if you look at 4.2, the heading on 4.2.
Yes, for
The heading
4.2.
itself, I'm not sure where we got the headings from, but that 4.2 heading is a little bit divisive for my liking. It's not the spirit in which the question was raised, and it's not in the spirit of which the answer was given either. I think, and it's also said somewhere further in 4.2.1 that we must shy away from giving the reasons as to why there was a certain or a perceived distrust or reluctance to participate in the survey. I think 4.2 is very misleading or very leading in its heading, and I suggest or recommend that we just say that we say the unique census-related challenges experienced in the Western Cape required greater scrutiny, and we put a full stop, or to understand the root causes of the undercounts, and we delete everything else after that.
Chair.
I have noted you, Honorable Christie, but can we then wait until we correct this 4.2? Then I will give you an opportunity to speak. Okay, then Honorable Christie.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you for correcting the minutes. Yes, I mean, we could have said understand the root causes of public mistrust, but I see that does come down in 4.2.1. So, I mean, we did clarify very strongly that it had nothing to do with race. It's just crime. And, you know, on Monday, I had a white Afrikaans man try to defraud me. But luckily, I've been so wised up by experience that I knew not to trust him. So it really had nothing to do with racial profiling. I give you my word of honor, it didn't. As a local councillor in the southern suburbs of Cape Town, it has nothing to do with race. It's just purely the number of imposters trying to rip us all off. And so I did agree with the Statisticians General statement that we need to engage in a lot of public advocacy to address those causes of mistrust. But thank you so much for taking that out of the minutes.
Thank you very much. You can proceed, Mandy. Thank you very much, Menti. Honorable members, those are the minutes of the 6th of September 2024 that have been corrected by Honorable Bergman. And now, if there's no other corrections, I'm taking hands, honorable members, to adopt these minutes. Honorable Kumpanyi.
Thank you very much, Chair. I move for the adoption of the minutes with the amendments. Thank you.
Any second, honorable members?
I second, Honorable Chair.
Were you part of this meeting, Honorable Apir? Let me check. Mandy, go to the attendance. Okay. No, that's okay. No, thank you very much, honorable members. The minutes have been adopted and with amendments and seconded by Honorable Apiri. And that's the end of our meeting. And thank you very much to all of you, honorable members. And the meeting now is adjourned and it's 11:45. And thank you very much also to our support team in this platform. And obvious also that the work of our secretary, Mandy, will always remind us and inform us in terms of all the developments to the committee meetings. And you are all thanked, honorable members, and the meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Siyabonga, Sihlalo.
Thank you.